Welcome to the Profits in Pajamas podcast. I'm Danielle D, or Coach Danni D, and I help women to create luxury brands by creating processes and tightening their branding. This is where we talk about how to build your business in a way that allows you to work with ease and enjoy your life. My happy space is spending as much time as humanly possible in my pajamas, and I want to help others to find their happy space while still running profitable businesses. So get comfortable and let's dig in. Hello and welcome to the Profits in Pajamas podcast. I am your host, Coach Danni D, here helping creatives and professional women to find that space of alignment, balance, whatever you want to call it, but that space where you are living a fulfilled and purposeful life. I'm so excited today to have my guest, Kat Parker. I met her recently. She was doing a talk and I was just like mesmerized. I absolutely had to have her here, and I hunted her down and made sure
Literally.
that she was going to be here for you guys because she speaks about a topic that I feel like as business owners, as women, we don't talk about enough, and that's emotional intelligence. We try to act like those emotions don't exist, or you even hear people say in business, there's no emotion in business. And that is so ridiculous because we have emotions. What are we supposed to do with them? Where do we put them when we go into business?
Right.
We're supposed to have them. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kat, and then we're going to just jump right into it because she just has so much. Like, she has so much to give, to share, and I want y'all to get every bit of it. So Kat Parker is a leadership coach for women. She has helped women to explore their strengths, overcome limitations, and thrive in their professional and personal lives. Working 22 years, girl, where? Girl, where? Working 22 years in corporate male-dominated industry, she experienced many challenges, and we all know that that's a different energy. Within with 15 years of leadership experience, she uses her experience along with her mindset coaching, NLP training, and emotional intelligence expertise to help women to help women step into their power and their authentic selves. So welcome,
Absolutely.
Kat.
Thank you.
So glad to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for reaching out and jumping into my DMs. And when I tell you it's been an amazing connection, I am just so excited to know you and to be here today. So thank you so much.
So I just want to jump right in. So first, tell us about your entrepreneurial journey. So how did you get from, working in those male dominated fields to jumping into your own coaching company and, helping women?
Yeah, it's been a long road to being a leadership coach. It's not something that, 10 years or 15 years ago, I said, oh my gosh, I want to be a leadership coach. But I will say this, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I can tell you that me and my older brother have logged hundreds, probably thousands of hours of conversations about being entrepreneurs. He's had his own dreams, and I've had my own dreams. So, we were like, we wish we could think of the next best thing and just, get out of corporate America, get away from work. So I've always had that dream. And that turned into like doing hobbies, making diaper cakes. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of diaper cakes, but I've done it all.
We have a large creative audience, and they know exactly what a diaper cake is.
I made diaper cakes, mugs. I mean, mugs now. Bows for girls. Anything that my creative thoughts could grab hold to, I would do it, and I would try to make a business out of it. But I didn't know anything about being an entrepreneur back then. But as I progressed in my leadership career, I started to even more so want to be an entrepreneur. So it morphed from hobbies and trying to turn that into being an entrepreneur to, oh, I came across this post about virtual assistants. And oh my gosh, that's something that I can do. You know, with this experience that I have in corporate America, I can do that. So I jumped into that as I was working. So I was doing that part time. That turned into social media management. And then once I became a social media manager, I was able to get promoted to the highlight of my career, which was director of inside sales. And director of inside sales, I led 50 people, 4 teams. We had a multi-million dollar sales quota. And the main responsibility of that job was for me to develop people. Yeah, we had that multi-million dollar sales quota, but in developing people, I wanted people to love their jobs, and in loving their jobs, have personal growth, professional growth, and then that we were able to be very productive and hit that sales quota. So I would do training. So, I would a very different type of leader. It wasn't about, hey, you do this, you do this. Like we would have specific trainings based on where my team lacked or where they needed the most training. And I absolutely loved it. I loved it so much. And I ended up meeting this lady who on a virtual coffee, a happy hour, and we were kind of following the same journey. She was a virtual assistant. It morphed for her into social media management. And her wife was a director in New York. She was like, hey, would you mind mentoring her? Like she's having some challenges at work. And, as a woman, she's experiencing all of these things. So it's like, absolutely. And leadership coaching was born.
Yes.
That is where it started. So I did that and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this so much. It's not just developing people on my team, but it's outside of where I work and it's specifically directed and for women.
Yes.
And I did that like the last year of corporate America and then decided, you know what, it's time to jump full time into it because it was such a passionate thing for me and it was filling my spirit so much. I just knew that okay, this is my thing. This is the entrepreneurial direction that I was supposed to go in. And that's how it started.
It's so interesting to me because I love hearing people's like entrepreneurial journeys, right? And one of the things that is so interesting to me is that most of us landed where we landed. I don't want to say by accident, but definitely not on purpose. Like it just was
Absolutely.
like a kind of like natural flow that occurred. But it, like you said, it wasn't like you woke up one morning and said,
Right.
I want to be a leadership coach. It
Right.
just, it manifests itself.
It happened the way that it was supposed to because all of those things I learned as, this creative person and trying to take hobbies and turn them into businesses, into virtual assistant, into social media management, it all prepared me to becoming a leadership coach. I learned so much, especially as a virtual assistant. I learned so much about running a business. And even in corporate America, everything I went through, all of the challenges and the hardships and the obstacles prepared me for this because I can truly say to women, I've been there,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And the other thing I heard you say in there was, in that position that you really loved the soft skills.
Yes.
The soft skills. Like when we think about leadership, oftentimes we jump to this like, drill sergeant kind of
Absolutely.
imagery. And a lot of times we don't realize that some of the most effective leaders are leading from within soft skills.
Yes, and they're leading from their heart, and they're leading with empathy and compassion. And what really helped me to be that type of leader was the pandemic. When I got that position, it was right there, smack dab in the middle of it. And I had to learn how to lead my team and motivate them and inspire them through a computer.
Yeah.
And I saw and knew that a lot of my team members were suffering in many ways. One lady, she was a grandmother. She hadn't seen her grandkids in I don't know how long. And I knew that that was affecting them. So when we would have our one on ones, my first number one question to them is, how are you? And my first few one-on-ones, like they're like, well, I got this client and I couldn't get this commission. I'm like, nope, that is not what I mean. How are you? And I don't want that question to be attached to work yet. How are you? And
Right.
having that conversation and building that rapport and that connection with my team, I was able to learn so much about them. Like adapting to change was really hard for them. Active listening was really, these are things that they were learning how to do, like I said, over a computer. So once I could figure out what most of the team were struggling with the most, that's how I would craft, the training programs I would have or the training sessions I would have. So remote work, it is not easy. Leading through remote, it is not easy at all. It's not easy.
I can
And I had my
imagine.
share of struggles with it.
I can imagine it, especially, if you, because for a lot of people, again, it just was like kind of jumping into the fire. You may not have had those connections prior to, and so now you're trying to build them. And yeah, it's a
Absolutely.
little harder through the screen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I think
And these
it's
were people who were coworkers too. So me getting that position, it's like, okay, now I'm their director.
right.
That's a different type of dynamic that I had to navigate there as well. So just making sure that they knew that this person was director, like I was going to ride hard for them
Right.
no matter what. So yeah.
But I think that matters so much. Like, just when people feel supported, then they're willing to do more. So,
Absolutely.
I know we have listeners who are, you know, professional careers as well as entrepreneurs, but it applies in
Mhm.
both places because,
Absolutely.
either the people that you're working with or your team, when they feel supported, they're going to work harder, they're going to do more, so I
Absolutely.
think sometimes we look at it as a waste of time,
Yeah, we do.
the
Yeah.
personal stuff as a waste of
Yep.
time, but it's really not because I mean, I know
Yeah.
I've experienced it. I was in an environment where there was a huge sales force and then there was an internal like production team. And
Mhm.
I was responsible for that production team. And the owner was very sales driven. That was his lane. And
Right.
so there was a time when he was like really frustrated. He came in and he gave this big, speech to the production team. And I was just like, oh, yeah. So
Mm.
now I have like a whole lot of work to do to undo that 5 minutes that he
Yes.
just did, because that
Wow.
was probably the perfect speech for a sales team,
Mm.
but it was not at
But
all
yeah.
for these guys. And the relationship I created with them, like we were often in situations that were unfair or like that
Yeah.
we had to do things that were outside of what we would do, but because we had that relationship, they knew I was going to stay until it was done, so they would stay
Mm.
until it's done. But
Yes.
you create and build those types of relationships, but
Absolutely.
again, that requires that we can't check our emotions at the door. So I mean, I know we're touching it, but I want to, get a little more straightforward about what exactly is emotional intelligence and how can we use it, learn how to use it in navigating our business world.
Mm, good question. And this is what I love. Emotional intelligence is the absolute foundation of my coaching. It is a foundation of me being a mom, me being a wife, a sibling. It is everything. So, emotional intelligence is understanding, recognizing, and being able to manage or regulate your own emotions, but also being able to have and maintain and build relationships with other people that are connected relationships where there's basically a win-win for everyone. And a lot of people, it's like emotional intelligence is kind of like that buzzword, and you hear it, and like you hear a little bit of about what it is. When I tell you it is so life changing, a lot of people think, well, you were touching on before about how important it is. Like you ride for your team, and you know that if you stay late, they're gonna stay late. One thing that I found in corporate America was that women are made to feel like if you lead with your heart or you lead with empathy or compassion, that you're weak, that you are creating situations where your team is going to run all over you. And I say that because I was told that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I've seen the leading by micromanaging. I've seen the leading by fear. I've seen the leading by, you know what I'm saying? So being able to lead this way is more of a connection with people. It's a connection with your team. It's a connection with your clients. And it first starts with you. There is no emotional intelligence without you first looking within yourself, understanding, recognizing what emotions you have, what is triggering those emotions, and then being able to regulate those emotions. And you said this at the beginning, you cannot hide your emotions. You can't deny that they're there. There is no way to get to logical thinking without there being a path to your emotional brain. So we have an emotional brain and we have a rational brain. You're always going to feel your emotions first. What you do with those emotions, that's up to you.
No, definitely. And yeah, I mean, like you said, you can't hide them. And if you don't address them, they gonna come out how they won't come out. And it
Yep.
ain't gonna always be,
Yep.
it's not gonna always be cute or pretty because
Exactly.
we can all think of a time where something was bothering us.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't deal with it, we didn't address it, we didn't name it. And
Yep.
then here comes somebody and they jump right on that last nerve.
Right on there. They gonna tap dance on that trigger.
On that last nerve, and it was only hanging on by a little small thread. And now, like I say sometimes, like when I know that I'm like frustrated and I need a minute,
Yeah.
and somebody comes in, I will, I'll say, now you don't want to get this smoke because this not your smoke.
It's
This
not
is
your smoke.
this is 5 minutes ago, whoever I got off the phone call with, this day smoke. You don't want to get this smoke. So
You don't
please
want
give
this.
me a minute. Give
Exactly.
me a moment so that I can, process this. But,
Right.
in most cases, you don't always get the opportunity for that moment. And so if you're not dealing with your emotions gonna deal with you.
Exactly. I was watching a show not too long ago, and I believe it was a Carl Jung quote that the person said. And it was something like, the emotions that you try to hide the most fight the hardest to get out. I may
Ooh.
have said that not in the exact way that it's supposed to, but the
The
emotions
sentiment is
you,
definitely there.
yes, what you try to hide fights the hardest to get out.
Yes. And
And you can try to bury it all you want, but like you
yes.
say, somebody go come and they're gonna find it. They're gonna be like this right over there.
And you just like, really? Like this what we doing right now. And I think sometimes we don't even realize that we are displaying it
Oh,
because,
that's what self-awareness.
it's like, I've seen times where, because most people, when they come and they're venting and they're saying whatever, and then I'll just sit for a second and I'm like, so, and they're like, what? I'm like, so you realize that you are
Mm-hmm.
doing this thing, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
don't realize that you are reacting
Yes.
in an extreme way
Yes.
to something that maybe it's not that extreme,
Exactly.
but because you haven't dealt with that emotion, like you said, that
Mm-hmm.
girl is pushing on through,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
now it's reading like aggression, and it's like, um,
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening right now, but it seems
Yeah.
like you're really, like a client doing something, and it might be something that that it continues to happen, and I'm a systems girl, so I'm like, if it keeps happening, something wrong
Mm-hmm.
with the system somewhere, we got to
Mm-hmm.
fix it. But you've been allowing it and not addressing the emotion that it brings up in you, and
Absolutely.
then now you typing this in email like you want to fight
Per
the
my
client,
last
and
email, yet passive aggressive, all of the things.
it's
Yes.
like, oh no, 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 don't,
Yeah.
like,
Which is the most important part of emotional intelligence is the self-awareness.
yes.
And emotional intelligence is not easy. It's not an easy thing. It I had someone tell me not too long ago, I'm tired of being emotionally intelligent. I feel like I have to carry everybody. I'm tired of being emotionally intelligent. I'm like, no, you're not. Because if it was the opposite way, you were not emotionally intelligent, these relationships that you are able to navigate, they would be a hot mess. So the most important part of emotional intelligence is the self-awareness. That is shining that spotlight on your beliefs, on your thoughts, on your emotions. It's like looking in that mirror and seeing yourself for who you really are, which is hard, right? Because a lot of people, like, we don't want to highlight our flaws.
Right,
We don't want to highlight our imperfections, and we definitely don't want to highlight our trauma.
right.
But those things are a part of who we are and create us. We have to understand those things to understand why we react the way that we
Yes.
do in certain situations. For example, something as simple as someone telling you to shut up could create like this, wait, what? What'd you say? And that could be connected to a teacher in second grade who told you to shut up, who completely robbed you of your voice, who made you feel like the lowest of the low. And now, as an adult, someone tells you to shut up, and you don't realize that your self conscious mind remembers that and says, okay, the words shut up is connected to fear, self doubt, self criticism, hate, what have you. And it's going to come out as anger because anger is a soldier emotion, right? And now the person who said shut up, maybe in a jokingly way, gets all the smoke
They getting all the smoke. It's gonna be a Jerry Springer moment.
because they were like, girl, shut up. I'm like, what?
And they
But
don't
you don't even
understand why
want to
you
tell me
at
to
their
shut up.
jugular now.
But the self awareness says, okay, I don't like being told to shut up. That's a me thing. This person didn't grow up like I did. So them jokingly telling me to shut up for them is something different than it is for me. And they don't deserve me completely
Right.
for something that was never connected to them to begin with.
Correct.
So that self-awareness says, okay, instead of reacting and doing all the things and telling them about themselves for something they didn't even know bothered you, you can actually respond. And it's okay to say, I don't respond well to being told to shut up. I know that it wasn't your intentions to make me feel that way, but I would really like for us not to joke that way. You can completely say that. Or you
Right.
can say, you know what? It wasn't their fault. They didn't do nothing to me. Girl, you shut up. you
Right.
know?
Right. No,
So
you
you can
choose how
respond instead
to
of
take
react.
control
Exactly.
of the situation. And I think,
Exactly.
yeah, I think that that's like the key that I'm hearing is the control piece. And
It is.
it is definitely challenging. You said about, like that self-awareness of looking in the mirror. It's looking in the
Mhm.
mirror naked with all the lights on.
Yes.
That's what it is. Like,
Yes.
like
Yes. With a flashlight, with a spotlight, with
right, a
all the
ring
lights,
light, every light, all the lights, every light, like every
sunlight,
light
all of
on.
it.
And
Yes.
you have to realize that sometimes it's you. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
not in a way that you're, disparaging yourself, but just in a
Right.
way that sometimes that's something that means something to you that doesn't
Yeah.
resonate with anybody else because they
Exactly.
don't know your history.
They don't know
And
your
so
history.
it's like a lot of times I watch people, whether it's in an argument or even in a conversation, and I realize that they're having two different conversations, right?
Yes.
And they're like neither person is aware of it. And
Mhm.
when it comes to like, emotions and anger, if you were to take those two people and say who was the aggressor, each one thinks the other person was the aggressor
Absolutely.
because they don't
Absolutely.
realize that maybe I jumped because I got triggered. And
Mhm.
then now I'm talking kind of spicy to the person,
Yeah.
and they like, well, why are you talking spicy to me? And so then
Exactly.
they return, and it turns into something like the escalation when we're not speaking from a place of emotional intelligence is like wild. Like you
Mhm.
just sitting there, and I'm like, whoa,
Mhm.
that went left like
Absolutely.
really, really fast. And
Absolutely.
sometimes it doesn't have to
Mhm.
be that way. And like I love what you said about, you know, being able to build those valuable relationships because,
Absolutely.
a lot of times we do have those walls in relationships
Mhm.
because we can't we're not self-aware, we don't have the
Right.
intelligence, and then we can't be open, honest, and connect with other people, and then
Mhm.
they may not be there either.
Exactly. And you can only control what you can control, which is yourself.
Yes.
And I always say, in understanding and accepting that you cannot control the other person, you're actually in fact in control. Because when you try to control how that person feels, or you try to control their opinion or how they see something, that's like you said, that's when it goes left because everybody's trying to prove their point. And everybody has two eyes, but nobody has the same view. That's when that empathy comes in. And I want to explain something about empathy too, because I think a lot of people think being empathetic to someone else's situation or maybe their behavior means that you're excusing it. And it's not excusing their behavior. It's not saying, oh, well, he had a hard life. So him coming in there and punching that person in the face, I get why he did it. No, it's not the excusing the behavior. It's understanding why the behavior was
Yeah.
there. It's recognition of what they may have gone through without justification of the behavior that they
Yeah.
exhibited because of it. So you could absolutely have empathy for someone's situation without excusing what they did. And having empathy, there's the understanding, and the understanding means that maybe you can approach the situation in a way that you can connect or have a conversation or communicate or give some clear feedback to that person about what their behavior or what that situation means. You
I
know what
feel
I
like
mean?
you
So
just
yeah,
jumped in my brain because like as you were talking, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like if you
yeah,
understand the other person, then like you said, I can't control the other person, but if I
right,
understand them, then I can temper my approach.
exactly.
So I know that, as if you're this person, this is your experience, I know that this might be something that is a trigger for you, then I might
Absolutely.
not approach you in the same way that I would approach
Right.
the next person. And
Exactly.
for me, I always get frustrated, especially you see all of like the back and forth and the bickering, and
Hmm.
and I'm always wondering, are you trying to communicate or are you trying to win?
Mm. Hmm.
Because those are
Yeah.
two different things. And
Two
so
very different things. Yeah.
so for me, if I have a end goal in mind of communicating, or if in the business, if we have an end goal in mind, then to me that's what brings it back to the soft skills. If
Yeah.
I can just say this is the goal and everybody has to reach it, but if I
Yeah.
know, for instance, let's say if the goal is requires you being able to see over a certain height, and I'm 5'3", I'm gonna need
Hmm.
a step stool. I'm not gonna be able to just see it.
Right.
So if you know that, you know what I'm saying, like if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know what this person needs to be able to accomplish it, then let's
Mm.
work from there, as opposed to
Absolutely.
like I'm just focused on the win. And
Absolutely.
you know switch it up. If you need to switch it
Absolutely.
up, there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes we
Yeah.
feel like we're losing
Yep.
if
It's the
we,
competition.
yeah,
Yeah.
if we change it up. Like
Yeah.
I don't care to win. I just want us to
Yeah.
get to some consensus. And the
Agree to
consensus might be
disagree,
that we just
common
don't
ground.
agree.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why a lot of people have, you know, entrepreneurs have the hardest time having difficult conversations, whether that's a difficult conversation with a team member or a client that may not be, doing what the client is supposed to be doing or what have you. It's because they go into it, I think, for two reasons. Number one, because they think that they're supposed to manage that person's feelings. I'm going to come into it and I'm going to tell you how I feel, and then if they do this to me, then I'm going to go off. It is not your responsibility to manage that person's feelings. It's your responsibility to communicate in a clear way your own feelings. How they take that is up to them. So I think that's
Yeah.
one reason why it's hard to have difficult conversations. But the other is just what you said. They think that they're going into it. It's a tug of war immediately. I'm going in. I want you to see my viewpoint. Until you see my viewpoint, like it's like I have to win this, and it doesn't have to be that way. It could absolutely be a disagree, agree to disagree, or a common ground, or just an understanding of the difference of perspectives. So I work with a lot of clients and have worked that is like probably top five thing, having difficult conversation. I don't know how to start it. I don't want to make them feel bad. I don't want them to make me feel bad. But if you, another quote, if you hold the peace, if you keep within to keep the peace, you start the war within yourself. So
Yes.
it's never resolved. It's
Yes.
never resolved. You continue with the client who is causing you so much stress and overwhelming you so much, and you know that there is no alignment between you and that client, and you should not be working with them, but because you are afraid to have that difficult conversation and have it in an emotionally intelligent way, you are causing yourself so much war within because it's never getting resolved.
Right.
So you have to, like, it's hard. It's not easy to have difficult conversations with people. It's not, but it's something you got to do scared. You got to do saying, okay, I'm going into this. I'm going to be as prepared as I can. And I am going to accept the fact that I cannot control that other person. I can only control me.
I agree with you that it's hard, but in this moment, I know that it's easier.
Mm,
In the beginning of my
you
entrepreneurial
win.
journey, I
Mm-hmm.
could that was like I would be anxiety ridden out with this and that, and allow situations that didn't need to happen because of the fear
Yeah,
of that conversation, or because of not having the right language to have that
yeah.
conversation, or the right mindset to have that
Mm,
conversation.
right.
But I think at this point, you know, not having the win
Mm-hmm.
be a win of a war.
Mm,
My win is satisfying the requirement that I have with my
yes,
client. That's
yes,
my win. So my
yeah,
win is when me and my client both walk away happy.
yes. And you have been able to stay authentic and true to you and your business.
Yes. And
Yes,
service my client in excellence,
absolutely.
right? So that's the cross section of a win.
Yeah.
And so it's no longer that
Mm-hmm.
anger or aggression mixed into that conversation. So
Right.
sometimes the win is going to be we don't belong together.
Yep.
And that's
Yes.
okay.
It's
But
okay.
it's going to be, I don't want to use because that's so counter to what we're saying. I don't want to use the word emotionless. It's not emotionless, but
No.
it's going to be without drama.
Yeah.
Whatever the
Chaos.
answer is,
Yeah.
it's not going to involve drama. We either
Yeah.
we either go together or we don't. And
Oh, we
and
don't.
and if
Everybody's
we
not for you.
and if
Yeah.
we don't, that's okay.
Right.
But it also requires that sometimes, even though I have my policies, even though I have my procedures, sometimes something is going to be outside of those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
that's when I have to sit down and say, okay, how do I, from where we are right now, get to
Mm-hmm.
that situation where I'm serving you in excellence
Yeah.
and I'm serving myself?
Mm-hmm.
How do we get there? And
Yeah.
sometimes that means, because I see people say, well, you know, I'm not giving a refund. This, da, 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 da. Sometimes I'm giving a refund. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just, it just,
You know.
it's what needs
Yeah.
to happen,
Yep.
especially if it's no loss to me.
Right.
Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes it's, hey, this is how much I've spent already on this, and I need to recoup this, but here, go
Mm-hmm.
be great.
Yep.
And that's okay. But
Yes.
the tension, the back and forth,
Yeah.
nobody's listening to anybody. Everybody's just getting hot and escalated, and
Right. Just all the things. Yep.
it's just all the things. And it's like, you know
Yeah.
what? Look, if I can stroke this check and we can not talk again.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because like you said, I can't control you. I
Cannot.
can't bring you into my peace, but I can put you
Mhm.
out.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I
As a
don't have to
virtual
and I don't have to
assistant,
kick you out. I could just say, you know what? I think you made a wrong turn.
thank you. Yeah. And that's okay. Hope you get back on track.
Right. Look, I hope you
Over
get to where
there.
like I hope you get to where you were headed.
Exactly.
But it ain't over here.
I had a client when I was a virtual assistant, and he's the worst client I've ever had, and he taught me the most about being an entrepreneur and about who I wanted to show up as in my business. I thought, let's say, let me tell you what he did. He was a type who he hired someone to do a job who was an expert at what they did, but he didn't let me be an expert. It's like, I want you to do these things, but when you do them, I'm going to nitpick and change. And that's okay, right? Your business is your business. If this is what you want, this, but it got to be, I had no voice.
Mm-hmm.
I was, I, it wasn't even like I was an entrepreneur having my own business. It's just like I was wasting hours doing things just for it to be completely changed. And this was even after having meeting after meeting after meeting saying, okay, what do you want? And getting clear directions and then doing that and it being just completely picked apart. So it was very stressful for me. I didn't like my business anymore. But in my mind, I thought, he's paying you good. How
That's
about
the
you just
one.
deal with it, you
Look, that's the
know?
one that'll get you. Like, they talk about bad relationships, and you like, but he's so cute.
But he's
Like
so
that's the
cute.
one that'll sucker you right on back in.
He was my highest paid client. I'm like, if I let him go. And for a minute, I thought that I could get by with those thoughts. I really did. But again, you keep that, you don't say anything and to keep the peace and to create like the war was brewing inside of me. And the more it went on, the more I hated my business, the more I hated showing up, the all of the things. And I had someone who I was talking to and I was telling them what was going on. And she was like, why don't you fire him? And I was like, the money. It's like, but what is it worth it? Are
Right,
you able to show up in your business the way that you
right.
want to show up in your business? Are you able to be Kat? Are you able to be that person? Is the money worth it? And it was like light went off. Nope, it's not. And when I fired him as a client, when I tell you, it was like a breath of fresh air. It was like the dark clouds went away and the heavens shone through, and all of that stress and overwhelm, it was gone. And I'm like, I will never, ever, ever be that person in my business ever again. I will never be that person in life.
Yes,
It
yes.
is not worth it.
It's really not, and I think, I've been in similar situations with clients, with jobs, people. But it's
Mm,
like it's so, like you said, freeing when you just let that go.
absolutely.
And then the other thing is happy people attract people. When you are living in your happiness, it's a
Yeah.
whole different situation. And so, like,
Yeah.
for my like balloon business, like I'm at the point now where it's like, I get to choose, like,
Yes.
and I choose happy. And so I choose to
Mhm.
work with people that make me happy, that I enjoy showing up,
Yes.
and I can show up as the best version of myself.
Yes.
Because, think about when you deal with that client that drains you,
Hmm.
and then 5 minutes later, either another client you have to interact with or your family or what have you. And
It's
now
a
you
ripple
got this
effect.
little sour version of yourself that is
It's a
coming to the
ripple.
table
Yep.
because this person has stole your joy. And now
Yep.
you walking around,
Yep.
the Grinch because this person
Yep.
has like stolen your joy. And so
Yeah.
we are entitled to be happy. Like, I
Yeah.
think society teaches us otherwise. You just got to go through it. And
Absolutely.
you really don't. I mean, to me at
No.
this point in time, the money is a factor in the sense I got to pay the bills, but it don't have that hold
Mm.
that it once did.
Right.
That but, is this
Right.
much money, or but because I realized that, there's no price on my soul.
Mm. Speak.
There is no
That's right.
price on my soul, and I can't be tied to that anymore. And I think that that's, everybody knows I'm very anti-grind culture. I think that's what keeps us tied into this grind culture, is that we are so money driven. And ironically, a lot of times us being money driven is what's keeping us away from money.
Mm, mm. Aha
Because
moment.
because
Yeah.
hear me out. So you focus so much on the money that you are reducing yourself
Yeah.
to capture it. Imagine what you could attract and what you could bring in if you stepped fully into you and your magnificence.
Ooh, yes.
And you with
100%.
no qualms. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because a lot of times, even though it's a lot of money, it always tends to be a lot of work,
Yeah.
a lot of aggravation,
Mhm.
a lot of expectation,
Right.
sometimes unrealistic.
Yep.
And you are not like, he was paying you, but you weren't your best you for him because he wasn't
No
allowing you
way.
to be.
He wasn't. And I participated in that. I was participating in my own suffering by staying in a situation with a client when I had full control of separating. So he didn't hold me hostage. I thought the money was good, but the
But
money was
that's
holding me
how we're
hostage.
trained. That's how we're
Yeah.
trained, is like
Yeah.
the money, but the
Exactly.
money. And it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
it I think an older version of myself definitely totally get it. But
Yeah.
like on this side, I'm like,
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
oh, they have this job, they offering blah 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 blah. And I'm like, what you gotta do?
Yeah. Exactly. Good question.
Like, I need to know, like,
Right.
what is the trade-off? But I think sometimes
Yeah.
we are so locked into the dollar amount that we never
Mhm.
look at how much it's costing us.
Right. And that's the self awareness that I lacked in that situation. If I was more aware of what I was losing trying to hold on to money at that time, then I could have better understood the situation I was in and what that was creating around me. And you're right. It's just like, how do you how do you separate that from your personal life and separate that from your other clients? They're not getting the true you and they're not getting the best that they deserve because there are actually clients that align with your business.
Right.
So that lack of self-awareness created a situation where I wasn't able to really understand or recognize or manage my own emotions outside of that client.
Right.
But being when I let him go.
And
Let
that's
him
the thing, is
go.
like so much stuff that is like scary until it happens. And then you like,
Mhm.
why nobody ever told me about this other life? Like, you know, the level of anxiety that I used to have. Oh my God. And I'm like, now I'm like, I think one, again, is that self-awareness. I know what it looks like when it's coming, right?
Yes.
And like how to, kind of counter it. But two, I just know what triggers it. And I'm like, you know what? Stop doing that. Like,
Right.
like
Yep.
stop putting yourself in situations
Yeah, that's your responsibility to
that
stop that. Yeah,
are going to end like this. Like,
exactly.
just sometimes it's hard. Again,
It
like
is.
I recently had a situation where I had to like turn down a client, and like you said, that money was good, but given what was in front of me, I'm like, you already have a full plate, and adding this on is like, it's just not It's not a good look. You've been down that road before. You already know what the end of the movie is. Like, don't go into the dark room. Like, just
Right.
don't go into the dark room. I know that little that dollar sign jingling is tempting,
It's very tempting.
but you know what the outcome is about to be. So
Mhm.
just, be strong. Be
Yeah.
strong and make the decision that's going to be best for the long run, because the
Right.
money will be nice for a minute, but what you have to go through to get to it is not.
Mm-mm. Exactly. Exactly. And I'm pretty sure a bunch of your listeners are moms, are
Yes.
parents. And one example I can give as far as um, understanding triggers is being able to help your children understand that as well. My 5-year-old, I have recognized that when he feels like he's not being heard, when he gets most upset. That's when he might throw something or hit or kick. So in recognizing that, I can help him specifically when he feels that he's not being heard. So, helping him to understand his triggers. He explains it as his heart is beeping.
Oh,
Beeping. My heart starts beeping, mommy. That means he's feeling anxiety. His heart is beating
oh,
fast. And when his heart is beeping, I said, that means that you're probably getting upset with someone, right? It's
yes.
like, yes. And your friend didn't hear you when you said that you wanted to play with that toy, right? Right. So, what can we do when our friends don't hear us when we say, I want to play with that toy? We can use our words, mommy, and say it louder. You sure can. And what if they still don't let you play with that toy? What can you do? I can go and tell the teacher. You absolutely can. What else can you do? And he knows about walking away. He knows about deep breaths. He knows about, looking at things, the five senses. I'm going to look at something. I'm going to see what I can touch. I'm going to, what am I smelling? He knows about those things. So it's so important with emotional intelligence. If it's hard for adults, oh my gosh, poor babies.
Right, right. But I think,
It
but you
is
know
hard.
what? Little ones adapt so much quicker
They
than we do, because
do.
we stubborn.
Yeah.
We
Ooh, aren't we?
The little ones just need the tools. We need the tools and
We need the
prayer
tools.
and and everything else, because we stubborn. We are.
We've been living with ourselves. Look, I'm 46. I've been living with myself for 46 years, and I have been in a pattern of behavior for 46 years,
Yes,
or somewhere in
yes,
there. So for us, it's yeah, we do need that extra, paying attention to yourself and really being introspective and reflect, looking at the things that you do and why you do it. And that's why I started off saying emotional intelligence. It is not easy, but it's so necessary. And
yes,
when you look at the outcome of two situations where no emotional intelligence and emotional intelligence, like you said earlier, it is easier to be emotionally intelligent because it creates a better outcome and a win-win situation
yes,
for you. So, yeah, those babies can adapt. It's hard for us. And emotional intelligence is a very flexible soft skill. So, you're never too emotionally intelligent. Everybody is nothing that you're born with or not born with. It is
mm-mm.
something that you can focus on, you can learn, and you can become that person who is self-aware, who can manage their emotions, who is socially aware, and who can manage relationships.
Yeah.
A game changer, I'm telling you.
No, it really is a game changer, because earlier you were saying about, going back to that trauma, that it may have been something that happened when you were 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
Until you embrace, emotional intelligence, you're gonna keep reliving that trauma for the rest of your life.
Ooh, yes.
It
Yep.
allows you to release that. It allows you
Hmm.
to have that, not have the same power. So,
Exactly.
I notice certain things don't affect me the same.
Yeah.
And, but it took one, that self-awareness, knowing that exists, and
Right.
then two, figuring out where did this come from?
Right. And
like
some people may not figure that out. They may not know where it comes from, but they know that there are things that happen physically and inside that when someone does something or says something, you start to feel a certain way. You may not know what the root cause of that is, but like my son, like your heart starts beeping, or for me, my ears turn red,
right.
or you start to breathe a little bit faster. Some people get a headache. It's like you get those physical, those body sensations that says, I'm not liking this, I'm not
Uh-uh.
feeling this. And for some of us, a lot of times it comes out of left field, and that's why we react so quick. But
Mhm.
even in those times where you were unable to manage your emotions, it's important to understand, to kind of reflect on that and say, okay, what did they say? What did they do? How did it make me feel? And what did I do in response? Or how did I react? Because the next time this happens and my heart starts to race, I know now that that is a sign that I am being triggered, and I get to pause. I get to walk away. I get to set a boundary. I get to do something different that is an emotional response and not an emotional reaction.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Like, that slow down, and I love the idea
Hmm.
of almost like a debrief,
Yes.
afterwards, of like, why?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when I get angry about something, I'm like, why does this make me so mad? Like, why?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, I know one that's common, for entrepreneurs, especially creative entrepreneurs, when people are asking about price. And,
Ooh.
sometimes the person just really doesn't know. But
Hmm.
as the artist, Erica Badu says, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my as the
Yes.
artist, that can be a trigger. Or,
Yes.
especially if you are, starting out as an entrepreneur, you are already insecure about your price, right? You are trying
Absolutely.
to establish that my worth is worth this amount.
Hmm.
And then somebody say, well, why is this so much? And now you won't fight. What you mean?
Give me the
But
hookup or something.
and sometimes people meant it. Sometimes people said it with their chest and they meant it with their chest, right? But the thing that I had to, realize, and I think, over time, many of my other colleagues have realized, some of them have not, is that the majority of people are just asking questions because they're not educated about what it is you do. Because, I've reached out to entrepreneurs for things that I'm not familiar with, and they like, it costs $4 million. And I'm like, okay. Like, and I don't feel any kind of way about that. Like, I really
Yeah.
don't know. I've never, purchased a fill in the blank before. So I don't
Yeah.
know what that price is. And so I don't feel any way about it. I don't feel any need to, go back and forth with them about it. If it's something I want,
Right.
then I'm gonna find the $4 million. If it's something I don't, then I'm gonna just move on. But
Right.
I mean, we do get, we get the ones that come back and won't go toe to toe, but
Yeah.
we can't assume that that's everyone's
Exactly.
thing. But in reality, we have an insecurity that is being
Hmm.
triggered,
Yeah.
and we're
Yeah. Connected to
hearing
price. Hmm.
something that's not there.
Right.
And
It's,
so, I'll give you space to speak on that, but it's just, I know
yeah.
that that's a common one. So I don't,
Yeah.
for some of us, that's like, well, I don't know what I need to be emotionally intelligent about. Well, here we go.
Here we go. Right here. Let's break it down for you.
Here
So
we
price
go.
is something that is going to be a part of the conversation regardless. There are some people who are going to go for the price, and there's some people who don't go for the price. I used to be an automotive sales trainer. And what I would tell the sales guys is if someone brings up price, don't see it as though they are completely shutting you down and saying, if it's not this price that I want, I'm not going to pay for it. Go into it with that person doesn't understand the value, or you have not built the value in your service or your product. That gives you, and I see it as a challenge. Oh, let me tell you what you about to get for this $4 million
Right.
right here. So
Right.
I see it as a challenge. I'm going to build so much value in it. Before I build value, though, I'm going to find out of my product and what's of my service, what's most important to you. I'm going to make sure that I find out the emotional connection by asking you questions. What are you going to use this for? What do you hope the outcome to be? Just asking them all those questions to find out what is the connection between the service or the product that I provide and what they want the outcome to be.
Yes. I
Once I
love
got that
that.
emotional connection, baby, value is about to start being built around that emotion. So when the price, it's like, oh, well, why are you not charging 5 million, girl?
That part. That part. No, really, that part. I love it because, you know, when I talk to clients about pricing and, the intersection of pricing and their ideal client, right? It comes down to if your price is too high to someone, you have not effectively communicated value.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, in some cases, there's nothing you're going to say is going, that price is, if that person is shopping off a price alone,
Yeah,
that's just not going to be your client if you are not the
exactly.
bargain, brand, right? That's just not
Exactly.
going to be your client, and that's okay.
Right.
Um, if the person is has other values, just like you shared, I thought that was amazing of like, building upon what that person's values are. But
Mhm.
it's that, we have to be aware of what emotionally triggers us. So,
Absolutely.
it's difficult as artists, especially when you have such wide ranges of pricing
Mhm.
based on how people value themselves. It's difficult sometimes to come
Mhm.
to that price and stand on that price and
It
know
is.
that maybe the people you started with as clients not going to be the people you end with as clients, and
Mhm.
being okay with that, but know that, let's just be honest, that's a hot button.
It is.
It's a hot button,
Be prepared
and
for it.
be prepared for it and explore.
Right.
Why is it a hot button for you?
Right. And be empathetic for that person that is challenging you, because what if they had an experience with someone who offered the same service and it was a bad experience and that person didn't build value? And now
Right.
they come to you and they're bringing the experience of that situation into this. It has nothing to do with you. It's just for them, they haven't been built up
Right.
in that yet.
Right.
So it may not be that your price is too high. It may be that they had a bad experience with someone else and that was connected to price. And here they come to you and like, oh, $4 million. Are you kidding me? So, like you said, also, everybody is not going to be for you. You
Right.
can build all the value you want with some people. And if, like you said, if they're shopping on price alone, it's just not something that they're willing to go beyond, then thank the good Lord that you didn't have to deal with a client that,
Right.
that could have caused some type of overwhelm or stress down the road. Learn what you need to learn from that experience and take that into the next one. But price is always that hot button. It's always that scary thing. It always puts us kind of like, oh my goodness, they're asking about price. Well, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and give you 20% off because they don't want to have that back and forth.
Right, right. No, no,
So
no, friend. This
you're
price
doing
gonna
wrong when
stay
you do that.
like this price gonna
Because
stay the
now
same.
you've decreased the value of your service or your product by immediately giving them a discount. Stand on
Yes.
it. If it's worth that much, then you stick to that and you build the value in the price and the product instead of immediately decreasing what
Yeah.
it's worth.
Yeah. I think, you know, it's just owning those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to talk about them. We don't want to, like it's
Mm-hmm.
funny sometimes, even when you're having conversations and there's that struggle or hesitancy to say,
Yeah.
I feel a way, whatever that way
Yes.
may be. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it's okay. Like,
It is.
I think one of the things that I like, it drives me nuts is when people talk about being fearless.
Mm,
Cause I'm like, fear is an emotion. It's like
yeah.
it came in the package. You can't throw it away. It's like when like you have the like like you have certain things like certain apps on your phone you could delete and some you can't you
You can't
can't
delete clear. Yeah.
you
It's gonna
can't
be there.
delete fear. It's in there. It's hardwired in there. So,
It's in there.
it's
Yeah.
going to be there. But I think for especially in the like entrepreneurial space, I think in the professional space as well, like um it's what creates that imposter syndrome because
Yeah.
people think everybody else is walking around fearless and I'm scared.
Yeah.
Girl, everybody's scared.
Everybody. Everybody.
They might have did it a million times and they still have fear in there. There's
Yes.
still that fear of what if something goes wrong or
Yes.
that still exists. If
Yes.
you get up in front of a crowd, like there's gonna be fear. You're gonna have a
Yes.
little, a little
I have years and years of public speaking experience, and every time I'm scared. Every time. It's just like
it
it's
you
gonna be
know
there.
it's just a part of life.
It
It's
is.
mixed in. You can be
Yeah.
excited and fearful. You can be happy and fearful, sad and fearful.
Yeah.
It just I call all of the emotions the girls. That girl just gonna ride with you. She
Yeah.
always in
It's
the
gonna be
car.
there. Come on, girl.
She in there. She just gonna
Lean
be in
into
there.
it. That's what's important, to lean into your feelings.
Right.
Again, we don't try to deny, we don't try to ignore, we don't try to hide because that's when it tries to push through the most. It's leaning into those feelings and seeing them as opportunities for learning. What can I learn about the fear? What can the fear teach me about myself? And what, you know what I'm saying? Like that vice
Yes.
versa
Yes.
of
Yes.
learning. I think a lot of people also, and I'm saying this because this is something that I've recently dealt with when it comes to, speaking up for yourself. A lot of people, yeah, they are afraid of what the other person will say. They're afraid of how that person will react. But we also have so many people, and I know we have entrepreneurs and people who are in the corporate world, women specifically, who kind of mute themselves because they don't want to be seen a certain way. So for example, a client of mine just had a conversation with a supervisor about a situation of being tardy for work. And the supervisor, after a month, she was tardy twice to work. The supervisor, after this entire month, she's only had two tardies, reached out to her and wanted to write her up
Hmm.
because you have these two tardies. So a lot of people are like, okay, I'll sign the write up. But for my client, she had emailed this supervisor twice and told this supervisor twice, I'm having this issue with my computer and logging in, and it's causing me
Mm,
to have these tardies. This happens
yeah.
this one time, it happens. The supervisor never emailed her back.
Wow.
So when the supervisor finally reaches out, it's, you've had these two tardies. I got to write you up because that's unacceptable. Now, most people will be like, okay, it is what it is. Give me the write up. Or other people, like my client, will use their voice and say, wait a minute,
Right.
I emailed you twice.
Right.
I emailed you twice. There was no response. I did what I was supposed to do on my side. So now I'm getting written up and I don't understand why, because I reached out for a resolution to this situation and I never got a path or directions
Right.
on what I needed to do to keep this from happening. And the reason why I bring this up is because when she's talking to me, she was like, I didn't want to say something and my supervisor to look at me as, oh, now she's a problem.
Right.
Now she's arguing with me about the write up. Oh, she's aggressive. Oh, she said, I don't want to put the light on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, if you did your due diligence, you did what you were supposed to do. And she's like, I understand my supervisor. She has a lot of meetings. She wasn't in a meeting when she reached out to you to write you up.
Right.
So, what about these two emails that you sent? She could have responded to those and said, because it's her responsibility as a
Right.
leader to
Especially
provide a solution.
if you are writing her up about this, you
Yeah.
when you looked them dates up, you didn't see them emails.
So, we, in so many situations, we are afraid to use our voice because we're afraid of how we will be viewed, aggressive, angry Black woman, all of those things. But if you just ask yourself the question of, did I do what I'm supposed to do? Did I do my due diligence? Is there anything else I could have done? And if you can answer those questions in a way where, the supervisor has to recognize and say, I played a part in this too. I don't get a write up. Supervisor, you need a write up because you didn't do your
Well,
job.
well, well, the thing that I'm like that I've been kind of grappling with, and I know that it's not always that easy and not always that simple, but if you standing up for yourself create strife,
Yeah.
then maybe then it's not the space you need to be in.
Exactly. Especially if
So
you're doing it the right way, the emotionally intelligent way, because you can stand up for yourself and come at somebody the wrong way. Yeah, you're right on the back end, but your tone and your behavior and the way that you're bringing this is the wrong way. Then yeah, I would
no, yeah,
say okay,
that's a different
right,
situation. I think that's
right,
back to that whole I'm trying to win,
exactly.
and I think that
Yes.
we see a lot of that, and that kind of that's a big turn off for me because you can be right, but my grandmother used to always say you could be dead right. People say dead wrong. She would
Mm.
always say you could be dead right. I mean,
Oh, I like
if
that.
you have a
Yeah, it's
green light,
true.
but somebody is running through the intersection, you gonna just go and die. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Like
Right.
it doesn't make sense. It doesn't have
Right.
to be the response does not have to be aggressive. It don't have to be gotcha. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be that. It just, hey, these are the facts. These are just the
Yeah.
facts of the situation. You don't have to insert the
Yeah.
the aggression in the two
Right.
snaps. You could
Be
leave the
assertive. You're advocating for
right.
yourself.
You can just
It's yeah.
advocate. But if I think there's that fear because, even in you telling that situation, I'm just replaying past situations and knowing that in some environments, even though she did nothing wrong, but just put documentation out on the table, there's certain people that now that you turned on the clock of their petty. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
and that's a reality. So
Yeah.
I know that that's part of the reason why some people are fearful of those conversations,
Right.
but the bigger reality is, so are you going to continue to be in shrunken spaces? Like,
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, when do we start, you know, shining the spotlight on these situations? When do we
Mhm.
start, um, and I'm gonna use the word demanding, but again, I'm not saying with snapping the fingers, and I'm not saying it
Right,
from
right,
that
right.
perspective, but when do we start, let's say, requiring
Mhm.
spaces that are fair and equitable
Mm.
and that suit our needs? Because,
Mhm.
you know, again, if I have to be different to be accepted in this space, do I really want to be in this space?
Mm.
Do I really want to be in this space? So I think
Million
that
dollar
that's,
question.
something that we need to think about. And I think a lot of times
Yeah,
too, with even with like in the entrepreneurial space, I've heard people say like, okay, so the big dream is, to get corporate clients, right? And I've
yeah.
talked to some people and I'm like, that's not it for you. Like, not in the sense of
Mhm.
that you couldn't do it,
Right.
but like, corporate tends to be very, traditional. They want this, there's some that
Absolutely.
will, get a little creative, but most of them are, I want this exact thing. They
Out of
got
the
some
book,
people
yeah.
that they lead with their artistry.
Mhm.
You belong with a different type of client.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
okay. You don't have to
Mm.
follow with the crowd or the trend or whatever that is, whatever space makes sense for you, and
Yeah.
excel
Mhm.
in that space because you're given that room to grow. But
Right.
we're in so many spaces, like you said, we feel we're scared to have those conversations. And
Mhm.
what I've learned over time is half the time we got so much pressure in those conversations, the person on the other side don't even care.
Don't even care.
We've been stressing ourselves out. Well, what if I say this? Well, what if I say that? Well, what if they do this? And,
Right. And
you
like
know,
they
I had a
right.
situation with a client. I couldn't get one of the balloons that was a part of the original design. And I mean, I'm looking
That's
everywhere.
okay.
It's discontinued. Somebody in Canada sending me some balloons, all of this, all that. End of the day, it's gone. I can't make it happen. I reach out to the client. I'm thinking it's the end of the world.
Mhm.
Client said to me, "Oh, well, that's fine. Whatever else you want to do is fine." You mean to tell all this energy that I didn't put into this
Oh my gosh.
because of the conversation I've been having in my head, and you didn't even care?
Wow.
And so we
Wow.
have to get out of that too. Like, my business coach says, you playing out the movie and you speak in both parts.
Mhm.
We have to stop
Mm.
writing these narratives and just deal with the situation.
Just deal with the situation. Absolutely.
Now we've been going. So
I know.
I'm gonna try to wrap us up, but I might have to have you back because
Look, and if
oh
you hear my
goodness.
dog in the background, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Mine had a moment as well. Everybody knows Walter. We are a dog family here. So it is okay.
So for your
Walter
listeners who are dog
Walter is
family, you
a
know.
co-worker. Hear me? So it is absolutely fine. Um, so one, I'm gonna give you just a second before we go into our wrap-up questions. Any tips that you want to just throw out there for whether it's business, personal, emotional intelligence goes everywhere with you. So tips on how we can tap into emotional intelligence and just kind of start that journey.
So probably the biggest tip, and I keep saying that the biggest part of emotional intelligence, the most important part of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. So that is something that is so possible for you to figure out about yourself. And it's taking those moments and taking those times to sit and evaluate situations. So, for example, my daughter is 17. once a week or once every couple of weeks, she and I get together and we talk about a situation that she has gone through and we unpack it. That is probably the biggest tip that I can give to someone when it comes to self-awareness is to unpack situations that you have been involved in. That you can journal, you can just kind of figure out emotions, what triggers you've had, what that person did and said, what behavior you exhibited, and then determine what is the behavior that you want to exhibit. Instead of me screaming at that person or being angry, what I want to do is have a calm conversation. So self reflection is so very important. That's the biggest tip I can give you. Journaling, sitting down, unpacking situations, even asking people that you trust, hey, when this happened, what did you think? Or, how did you view my behavior? And be open to getting that feedback and to internalizing that and not seeing it as if somebody is labeling you or making you feel bad. So it has to be people you trust, right?
Yeah,
It has to be
yes.
people you trust.
Yes.
And if you don't have anybody you trust, look, like I said, the self-reflection and the journaling, those are two things that you can do. Another thing that I would advise people to do is to get clear on your boundaries. Understanding what your own boundaries are. I saw someone who had posted this the other day. It said something like, being good doesn't get you loved, being good gets you used. And I said, oh, no, 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 no. So you're telling people now that they can't be good because they're going to
Right.
be used? Not
Right.
true, right? The
Right. It's
problem
just, I
is
think is, yeah, it's like a huge generalization, and maybe you being good to the wrong people.
exactly. Maybe you're being good to the wrong people, or maybe you're not focusing on what you need to focus on when it comes to being good. Because some people can be good and they're people pleasers and they let people like whatever you say you want me to do, I'm going to do it. Setting boundaries and being a good person go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to get you where you want to go. That is going to get you the goals and the aspirations and the dreams that you want in your business and your personal life. You have to get clear on what your boundaries are, communicate them as well, and communicate them in an assertive way, not in an aggressive way.
Mm-hmm.
Be okay with letting people know what behaviors are unacceptable for you, and be consistent in saying, okay, these are my boundaries and I am not knocking them down for anybody.
Yes.
Your
Yeah.
boundaries protect you. And if I've seen this before too, if you set a boundary and somebody else gets upset, that's a them problem, not a you problem, because
Yes.
they're probably the person that was using
Mm-hmm.
your lack of boundaries against you or to get what they wanted.
Yeah. That's the most gaslighting thing that exists. Like when
Ooh,
people are like, oh, when you set that boundary, that meant that was their entryway.
yes,
And you just closed
yes.
it, not a man.
You
That
just now
that
they
was
mad.
that's like when you change your Wi-Fi password and your neighbor's mad with you. You was you mad with me because you was getting free Wi-Fi, and now
Right.
you're not. Like, but it's real, like
Yes.
when I transitioned to like setting boundaries, and I'm like, there were people that were upset with me that I wasn't doing certain things for them, even though I was in the middle
Mm.
of a grieving period. And I was like,
Oh, oh,
you know what? That let me know everything I need to know about you. Like,
yep.
it just,
Learning experience.
and sometimes people are gonna be upset, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing that says you have to make people happy all of the time.
No, absolutely not.
That's not
Absolutely
a
not.
requirement of
It's
yours.
and it's not it's inevitable that you're going to have people in your life that you can't make happy.
Right.
You're
And
not, I
that's,
don't think you're supposed to.
well, my
Like,
thing
right?
that I say now is like, what makes their feelings more important than mine?
Mm-hmm.
And I think,
Absolutely.
anybody who is a people pleaser or recovering people pleaser, put that in your mind. Like, because that's what
Yeah.
starts to happen is you prioritize everyone else's feelings,
Mm,
but your feelings are equally important.
yes.
So if making them happy means making you miserable, then they're just not going to be happy today.
Exactly. Exactly.
They're gonna have to find a different way to make them happy because I'm
Yep.
not about to sacrifice
It's not going
myself
to be me.
for it.
Exactly. Yep.
But you when you start talking about boundaries, just
Yeah.
plug of a previous episode, Dr. Nicole talked a lot about boundaries, and that's her lane. That's her love language is
Yeah.
boundaries. And one of the things that we talked about in that conversation was that your boundaries don't have to be loud.
Ooh.
You set those boundaries, and we see it all of the time, especially with entrepreneurs. Somebody steps on a boundary, or maybe you didn't have the boundary there, but you were triggered by what somebody did, and then now you
Yeah.
posting this angry long post about
Yeah.
what y'all
Yeah.
not gonna do it. Friend, that's not boundaries, that's just yelling.
That is yelling. Yes.
That's just yelling. Just,
Yes.
lesson learned. Put,
Yeah.
take the lick and keep,
Right.
change up how you operate, but you don't have to make a loud announcement. You don't need a
You don't.
megaphone.
Yeah. I think
Just
people want other people to know so badly that you can't get over on me. You can't come over here messing this up. But when you're that loud, like they already he who angers you controls you, and you're making that angry post, that person is already done what you're saying. You can't come over here messing this up. They did because you're making a post about it. You're upset about it.
right. You upset. They got you all turned up. You don't see boundaries are peaceful. So you
Come
don't
on.
seem at all
Yes.
peaceful. But the other thing is you don't realize how many people have just silent quit. Because when I see those posts, I'm like, oh, I don't really want, like, I don't want to
That
do business
energy,
with
you can
that.
keep that over
Yeah,
there. Yep.
that's some energy I don't want. And so
Exactly.
you're wasting energy talking to somebody you don't want to be in relationship with, and you're losing relationship with people who
That could have,
that
oh my
could have
gosh, yes.
come in with sunshine and smiles and stuff, and they like,
Mm.
oh, it's scary over here. Let me grab my purse and go.
Exactly. I want people to get curious about emotional intelligence, read about it. There's so many books out there that they can read. One specific book is Emotional Intelligence 2.0.
Okay.
It's a really, really good book. It has strategies for each of the four pillars of emotional intelligence. And what I love the most about it is that you can take, with the purchase of the book, you can do an emotional intelligence test, and
Okay.
it shows you where is the area you need to focus on the most. And then you find those strategies in the book. And then at the very end, you can take a second emotional intelligence test to see where you've improved.
Oh wow, that's so
So
cool.
that's a really good book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. So I'm going to plug that book, right? Because it
Okay.
is an amazing book.
Okay, and I'm gonna make sure to put the link to that in the show notes.
Yes.
And I actually might because we have a book club, so I may put that on the list for the book
Oh
club
my
as well.
gosh. That would be a good
So
one.
yes,
Absolutely.
that sounds so interesting, and I'm excited about it. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up because we've been here and we could keep going because
All
I
day.
love the topic. I love you know, we just clicked from the moment we, got
Yes.
in touch with each other. So we can go, y'all. But so I'm gonna ask the wrap up questions. So the first one is, tell me about your favorite pair of pajamas.
Okay. So this is hard for me, Coach Danny, because I can wear my husband's t-shirt and be fine. But if I really had to like dig deep and say, okay, favorite pair of pajamas, I would say something that is comfy, like what I have on today. Like today, I have on like a little cute little long
Mhm.
sleeve shirt with a little flannel PJ bottoms. So something that is comfortable, that allows me to run after my 5-year old when I need to be, or run after the dog when he's barking, and I know.
But I mean, you said
Oh,
like about being comfortable in like the husband's t-shirt. I'm not gonna lie, that's a
I
comfortable look. Like, I mean,
yes.
it's something about it. Like, it's like the old ratty shirt. Like, that's just,
Yes, that's the best ones.
it's just, my husband said he don't own shirts anymore because I keep stealing them all. But I'm
Mhm.
like, I mean,
I mean,
they're comfy,
what's yours is mine, hubby.
right? I mean, don't we share up in here?
Right.
Like, they are comfy. Okay, my
Exactly.
time freedom allows me to.
Ooh. Um, my time freedom allows me to, hmm, it allows me to do things that I'm passionate about. I mentioned before that, hobbies are my thing. One thing I didn't mention is art. I love
Mhm.
art. I love to draw, and even though I don't draw as much anymore, I see that in my son. So I like to really put him in situations where he's able to be creative. But being able to engage in things that I'm passionate about, my time freedom allows me to do those things. The freedom to explore things and to enjoy things that are interesting to me. Probably one of the most important when it comes to, because, of course, time freedom, I want to engage in self care activities. But being an entrepreneur and being able to have a flexible schedule, my time freedom allows me to be there for my family,
Mhm.
to attend those personal events. If I need to go pick my son up from school, I can do that. If I want to plan a birthday party and through the week put that together, I can do that. So being able to have that focus on my family, celebrations, special occasions, birthdays, it allows me to be able to participate in those things actively and like truly, truly, truly enjoy those moments. With my two older kids, 21 and 17, I worked in corporate America as they were growing up. And there was a lot of times where I was on the road traveling and I would miss those things. And now with my 5-year old being able to be there, even with my 17-year old is very, very important to me. So those are two things my time and freedom allows me to enjoy.
I love that. Yeah, I didn't realize until I left my job. Like,
Mm,
even, like, as much as like I feel like I see my son every day, I didn't realize like just that car ride home and him not having to go to aftercare like was like so huge. Like, it just
yes.
absolute like I'm just like, that sounds so silly, but it
Ooh,
was
that
just
spoke to
so,
me. No, it's
it
not
just was
silly
so
because
huge. Like, I was just like, I
yes,
didn't know I was missing that until that
yes.
moment. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah. Standing outside my door, my son gets off the bus and him running to me. "Mommy." It's the best. Like that touched me right now, what you just said, because
No, it
it
really was
makes,
like a moment. Like, it was like,
yes,
wow. Like, you
absolutely.
feel connected, but then you don't realize that there's like you got blind spots,
Yes.
and
Yep.
to be able,
Absolutely.
to not have to ask permission to go do something with your kids,
Isn't that something?
you
That's
know,
why we connect so much because it's like the
like
word choice right there. That means everything to me too. Is I feel like as an adult, I shouldn't have to get permission to go and be with my son's class or what have you. So
Right.
yeah,
It's
it's
crazy. It's really
so important.
crazy that that's how the world works. And it's like, how am I supposed to, like, if your child goes awry, then it's like, oh, you blame the mother. The mother didn't do what she was supposed to. But I was at somebody's
Yeah.
job. Like,
Come on,
like how can I be fully both things?
fair. Yes, it's
Like,
not possible. It's not possible if you are clocking in at 9 and leaving at 5. Even if you have PTO, you're made to feel like you can't, it's your time, but in a lot of jobs, people are made to feel like, no, you need to be here. PTO, what are you doing asking off?
but I mean,
And it shouldn't be that
just
way.
something as simple as yesterday we were traveling around like 3 o'clock. I had a site visit, and we were talking about the traffic. Me and my husband were talking about the traffic and the fact that he said, "Oh, I thought it would be more traffic." I said, "Well, no, rush hour is not till 5." And then I'm like, "But school get out at 3." Like, school
So,
get out at 3, but work get out at 5.
yeah,
Like,
it don't.
the
It does
math
not
not
make sense.
mathing.
It's not. This is true.
All
The
right. What is
thing.
the best advice that you can give anyone seeking the profits in pajamas lifestyle?
So I think the lifestyle is about finding balance, right, between being an entrepreneur who is successful or productive in their business and enjoying that flexibility that we just talked about that comes with being an entrepreneur. Um, I would say work-life balance is something that always kind of comes to mind, but I don't like to call it work-life balance. I like to call it work-life harmony. Um, so establishing again those boundaries between your work life and your personal life is important. Flexibility is a perk, is an important part of profits and pajamas, that lifestyle, correct?
Yes.
But it's so important to set specific working hours and take breaks for yourself to maintain that healthy work life harmony. I don't think balance is something that we can use because balance to me is 50-50. And sometimes you got to take from over here and go over here and take from over here. And so I like to call it work life harmony. So work life harmony would be one. Networking is probably the other one. I don't think people realize how important
No, it's
networking
important. It's
is
definitely important.
so important. And the pandemic really got us into this mindset of sitting in front of our computer and this, you know, virtual connection. But that face to face connection is so important. Getting out there with other business owners, but online and offline, both of them,
Yes.
building those connections, strong connections, it can lead to collaborations, it could lead to partnerships. It could lead to you learning something about your business that you wouldn't have otherwise known.
Yes.
Those insights that could help you
Yes.
lean more into that profit in pajama. Oh my gosh, profits in pajamas. Slow down, cat. Lifestyle. So I would say attend industry events, join online communities, um, be intentional about engaging with your peers and the aha moments and the things that you can gain from that could absolutely participate in that lifestyle of profits and pajamas.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I think we do neglect that networking piece a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's all about working with ease. And a part of working with ease is when you make connections and build community, then doors start opening.
Yeah.
People, are saying your name in rooms.
Mm.
If you build authentic relationships, I'm gonna throw that out there
Yeah.
because they got some people out here networking, but they're doing something a little different. If you create
Oh, girl.
authentic relationships,
Yes.
you are creating a free sales force.
Absolutely.
You like
That's ease.
I could be sitting here minding my business and like 4 people to tag me in a post because somebody was
Yes.
looking for balloons.
Yes.
And I wasn't over there wherever that person was, but they were. And
Yes.
so you are building that.
Yep.
People think about you for opportunities that be great at. Sometimes people think about you for things that you would not think about for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. How I got to the speaking event where you saw me, I sponsored a luncheon for a local group. And I just got up at the very end of the luncheon and gave like a little 2 minute spiel on who I am and what I do. And after the luncheon, this lady walks over with a card and kneels down beside me. She's like, "Hey, we're looking for a keynote speaker for an event that's coming up in a couple of months. And I'd love to take you to have coffee to talk to you about it." Wait, what?
But you had to be in the room.
To be in the room. I had to be in the room.
So get in the
Absolutely.
rooms, and I know people
Yes.
get nervous about that. I am an introvert. I totally get it. But
Mhm.
that doesn't preclude you from being in the room. You know, you could always reach out. There's always like I have a million tips of how to do that, but get in
Yeah.
the room,
Get
get
in the
in
room.
rooms, get over that fear, take her with you. She
Mhm.
can come. She can go to the
Yes.
networking event
Come on,
too.
girl. Let's go to this.
Girl, come on, put on your
That's
clothes. We're about
right.
to go to the networking event. She can come too, but
Yes.
get into those spaces.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, so Kat, where can the people reach you? What do you have going on that you want to share with the audience?
So, how can you reach me? I am on Instagram at the Cat Parker. That's TheKat Parker, Parker. I am also on TikTok at the cat Parker. And then I have a website, www.catparker.com. So those are three places where you can reach out to me. You can DM me. You can find my tips and strategies of being a great self leader at home and at work. So today we've been talking about emotional intelligence, and I absolutely want to share something that is connected to that I have available right now, which is a free ebook. It is an emotional intelligence for women in leadership, and that's as an entrepreneur, what have you. That is available. It is a free ebook. You can go to my website, www.catparker.com, and click on free downloads and click emotional intelligence. That ebook is not just a read, it has specific journal entries that you can use. It's strategies. It goes with it has a section for each pillar of emotional intelligence and tells you tips and information on each one of those and how you can integrate that into your professional and your personal life. So, emotional intelligence ebook, please go and download that. It is 100% free. And then, lastly, something that I am working on that is coming and that will also be on my website is a workbook for women. I'm pretty sure some of your listeners are probably still in workplaces as well as
Mm-hmm.
have their businesses. And this workbook is specifically for women who are navigating and or want to leave toxic workplaces. It has a foundation
Oh,
of emotional intelligence in helping you to not just recognize and understand the situation that you're in, but to navigate these toxic workplaces in a way where it is going to protect your mental well-being, where it's not just acknowledged, you are actually protecting your mental well-being and not creating this ripple effect of toxicity that happens at work and then you bring that home as well. So that is something that I'm actively working on that hopefully will be available within the next few weeks, if not sooner. And that will be available on my website.
awesome, awesome. That girl.
I know.
I got a group chat I need to add you to.
Do it. Let's do it.
Oh my goodness. No, that is totally needed because
Yeah.
it's a reality for a lot of us. And yeah, just look, I wish I knew you a few years ago.
Yeah.
Um, but it is a reality of how to navigate it because it's not always as simple as just getting up and leaving.
Right.
Because you still
Yeah.
have to think about, your family, all of those
Exactly.
obligations. So that's
Exactly.
amazing, Kat.
But it will have specific strategies and things in there that will help you if you do want to leave, if you're preparing to leave, what you need to do, things you need to put into place so you can make that leap away from that toxic workplace. So that will be in the workbook as well.
That's that is like amazing. Like that, I
I'm so
can't wait till it
excited
comes
about
out.
it. I'm
I
so
can't wait
excited
till it
about
comes
it.
out because I like been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and I know so many people that are still in that environment, or you
Yeah.
think you left one and now you had another.
And
It's
another one.
just
Yep.
it's very difficult. And then again, there's not usually any kind of tips for how to deal with it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. So all
So
of that will be in the workbook. I'm so excited.
exciting.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't want to leave, but we gotta leave.
I
I'm
know.
so glad that you were here and shared so much information. So many gems were shared, and I hope that everyone in the audience has kind of perked their ears a little bit to the idea of emotional intelligence. And I want y'all to take advantage of the free download, the book that you shared, and when this workbook comes out, I want look, because I know some of y'all, in my DMs talking about these environments. Cat got the answers. So y'all better
She's
get
trying to
these.
help you.
You gotta get these
Pat is trying to
answers.
help you.
Get your sanity because the
That's right.
economy is different than it used to be. I don't have bail
Yeah.
money for none of y'all.
No.
I don't want nothing to happen on the job. We gotta leave respectably.
That's right.
So, so
You're
thank
hilarious.
you for being here.
Thank
Thank you
you.
guys for, always listening and coming and getting these gems. I love bringing amazing people. When I meet amazing people, I try to bring them to you guys. So I'm so glad that Kat didn't think I was a crazy lady in her DMs
Absolutely not. And thank you so much.
and was so receptive and came on here and just shared so openly and honestly. So I will leave you guys with that, and I will see you next week.
Thank
Thank you for listening to the Profits in Pajamas podcast. I hope you got some great tips to start working with ease. Want to stay connected? Follow me at Your Workflow on Instagram. For more information about building your luxury brand, register for my upcoming luxury brand workshop at CoachDanniD.com.